Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. It's another episode here on Custom Kart Bros, and in this episode we're gonna be jumping back onto the go-kart build. Now if you guys are new to the channel, you probably haven't seen this. Most of you guys probably haven't seen it, but we added a light bar, how to do a light bar quick and fast. That video you can go check down in the description below. But anyways, in this episode we're gonna be fixing a problem that's been reoccurring, and that's with this front suspension. And there's literally like no suspension on this thing. And by the way, that's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like that. That tire is messed up, and that's because this axle keeps on breaking. So we're gonna replace the entire axle with an axle from an actual quad. This is a two-seater quad. The suspension is light duty, so that means you can easily compress it, which is good because that means that hopefully we can jump this thing in future videos. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But without further ado, we're gonna jump over here on the go-kart. There's a couple bolts we're gonna need to unbolt. Right here, there's this one right here, lower one down there. And then we gotta undo this steering shaft, actually just right here, so we can hook it up to the new one. It's a pretty simple connection. It should just kind of plug and play-ish. We're gonna have to weld on some new bars for the shock mounts, so we're gonna go ahead and jump right in. Alright guys, so we went ahead and we removed both of those suspension arm pieces, and it looks so good. But for now, we're gonna go ahead, jump back on time-lapse mode, and we're gonna cut off this front suspension, cut it in half, so we can use one half for that side and one half for that side, so you know, we can kind of fit it up. So we're gonna go ahead and get to cutting.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Alright guys, so we went ahead and we removed the old steering right here. You can see it, as well as some old miscellaneous wires and things that we don't need. But anyways, now we're gonna go ahead and try to make the cut, and the cut is gonna cut this thing right in half, cutting that bar, cutting that plate, or maybe we'll just cut that plate there because we don't really need it that tall, and cutting the other two in half as well. So let's go ahead and get the grinder back out and cut it. Alright guys, so we went ahead and we cut this thing in half. It is now two pieces. You got this piece on this side and the other piece over there just laying on the ground. But anyways, we're going to go ahead now, get those things mocked up where we want them, and we're going to spot and fully weld them. Alright guys, so we went ahead and we got them both mounted. They're not touching the ground at all. They're both just kind of got a bar on each side, and those are kind of just holding them. It's not like ready to test or anything like that. We're gonna go ahead and take a 1-inch bar that's gonna come from this side across to this side, maybe connect into this. I'm pretty sure this is metal. Yeah, that's metal, so we can almost connect to it as well. But basically just from that side to this side, and we'll add a bunch of little bars and stuff to strengthen it up. We may go from here up into that and rejoin with that. So anyways, let's just go ahead, cut some steel, and we'll get it all strengthened up. Alright guys, so now we're going to go ahead and jump onto the steering side of things. As you can see, this is the original arm right here with a bolt attached. That's because it's going to extend about another 6 inches more than it did originally. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut off this hex at the top, weld on a little bit of square tubing to this as well as to that thread over there. So we're going to basically put a piece of square tubing across from this to that and then weld it up, and we should have our steering working. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now we're gonna go ahead and jump over here. Now as you can see, we got ourselves some big old steel, and it's got some markings on it. These markings line up with that, so we can kind of just set it right there, fully weld it. So we're gonna go ahead, jump to the angle grinder, cut that thing out. Some 1/4 inch thick, so it's gonna take a while. Maybe we won't be able to cut it, we never know. So anyways, we're gonna cut it, weld it on this side as well as the other side, and we're gonna continue to support this main suspension arm so we can get them all strong so we can test drive it. So without further ado, let's jump into time-lapse mode. Alright guys, went ahead and we cut that. Took a little while, but it was actually faster than I thought it'd be. So we're gonna go ahead and take the grinder again, but this time with the floppy disk, and that floppy disk will go through and it'll clean up all these edges because they're rough and I don't want to cut myself. So anyways, let's go ahead, put this on the clamps, sand it on up and make it nice. So let's go ahead and continue. Alright guys, so we went ahead and we made this part, and as you can see, it is like perfect actually, even though I ended up cutting it a little bit different than the original plan, but we've sanded that up so it's nice and smooth. And now we're gonna go ahead, take the welder and fully weld it, and then we'll probably clean it up with the flapper disc as well. Speaking of flapper discs, I have a question for you guys. What's the difference between an expensive DeWalt flapper disc and a cheap off the brand, just a cheapy one? Like literally you can get like 100 of these for the price of one of those. What's the difference between the two? Comment it down below. And also you can jump to this time right here you see, and it'll tell you the answer. But anyways, without further ado, let's jump on and let's fully weld this bad boy on up. We'll probably catch this warning sticker on fire, but that is fine. It's just like a life-threatening, like if you don't read it you'll probably die because you don't know how to operate this vehicle. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. We're gonna go ahead, fully weld this thing on, and then we'll make one for the other side and weld it on as well, so we should be getting more strong. So let's go ahead and weld it on up. Alright guys, so we went ahead and we got this piece made. It fits just right there-ish. And anyways, real quick though, here's the answer between the difference between a cheap and an expensive flappy disc, or even a grinder disc for that matter. You wanna know the answer? Well, the answer is, the difference between the two is the price. Cause you think about it, this one's more expensive at like $50, and this one's literally like 10 bucks for like 20 of them. So that's the difference, is the price. So just letting you know. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead now and we're gonna get this thing where we want it and then fully weld it. Let's go ahead and weld this on. All right, guys, so we went ahead and now we're gonna split this thing into 2 parts because it would have been like a 30-minute long video, and nobody wants to sit through a 30-minute long video. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like as well as a sub. In the next episode, we'll be on this thing. It'll come out on like a Friday, whereas usually they're on Mondays. But anyways, in the next episode, we're gonna be painting this thing black. We're gonna add on some bigger tires at the rear and weld up some stuff. And yeah, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But just like that, this video is over, and I'm out.